Setting up an art studio is fun, but it's also quite challenging. Along with limited budgets and lack of time, organizing a creative space often means dealing with evil forces of limited space. It can be one of the most frustrating counter-creative limitations you will ever face. But you cannot ignore reality. Instead, the magic lies in optimizing the space you actually have, accepting what isn't possible, and embracing the never-ending process of building a studio. By simply starting to paint, you might turn the almost impossible into something possible. Hello everybody, and welcome to my channel. I am Henrik Skore, an old guy now living in wonderful Copenhagen in Denmark. For more than 20 years I have painted hundreds of mostly abstract paintings. Setting up a studio is one of the most decisive moves you can make for your future life as a painter. And through the years I have had opportunity to set up several. If you wondered why I haven't posted video for almost half a year, here is the story. My wife and I recently sold our lovely large house located on the island of Falster and moved to an apartment in the capital of Denmark. Housing expenses in Copenhagen are high, and our new home is significantly smaller. We really had to squeeze in to make room for both of us. And I was forced to shrink my workspace, though not my ambitions. To be honest, the moving process turned out to be a complete nightmare. I was too stubborn to admit that I'm getting older and needed help, which completely paralyzed me for a month. When you live in a place for 20 years and have plenty of space, you collect a lot of things, and when you move into a smaller apartment, you drown. We ended up having to rent a storage facility just to be able to walk around in our new flat. Eventually, the chaos dissolved into shelves and cabinets, and I was finally able to focus on setting up my new studio and start to paint again. In this video, I want to show you how I organized my new space. It's only half the size of my own studio, so dealing with limited space suddenly became very real to me. Here is a quick overview of what we will cover today, including a deep dive into finding the perfect light for a small creative space. Before moving here, I actually asked myself, do you even need a permanent studio? Many artists are forced to work out of a kitchen, bedroom or living room on a temporary basis, setting up and packing down all the time. In my view, a permanent studio is always the best solution if you want to take your painting seriously. All that packing down takes time away from the main thing, which is painting. Time spent in front of the easel is precious. The purpose of having a studio in the first place is to make it easy to start and to avoid distractions while you are painting. Because sometimes it can be an overwhelming experience just to get started and to stay focused for a long period of time. Having a dedicated place for your tools, your colors and your easel just make your life much easier. Don't get me wrong. Temporary spaces can work just fine. For instance, the Impressionists made a virtue out of temporary solutions, heading out to paint en plein air to capture the moment and the lights. It's fascinating that they became some of the most successful painters of all time. I started out with temporary solutions myself, but to be honest, it never really worked for me. Then again, I was never one of the Impressionists either, so maybe that's the reason why. Having a permanent studio is a luxury, but when I set up my very first one years ago, I fell into the biggest trap of them all. I was around 50, my kids have moved out, and I was finally able to fulfill my dream on becoming a painter. I moved my temporary basement studio up to a brighter room on the first floor. Happy days! But I spent months looking for the perfect setup. I wanted a space where I could do everything remotely related to painting, plus the space for yoga and taking a nap. I ended up needing a room the size of an aircraft hangar. My huge ambitions almost kill the project. So my first rule is keep your feet on the ground. Stay ambitious, but not over-ambitious. That room ended up dusty and cluttered. And I barely spent any time there because I was working hard at my day job. When I did enter, the dusty shelves just gave me a bad conscience. That led to my second studio rule. Match your studio space with a corresponding time slot in your calendar. Space doesn't create paintings. Time spent in front of the easel does. At the age of 53, I left my day job to make my hobby my profession. Looking back, it was a brave decision, but take care here. Ambition will not feed you, and you shouldn't do so unless you have a sustainable financial plan. But that decision meant that a permanent studio was no longer a luxury, it was a necessity. Here is a before shot of my new Copenhagen studio. It's a nice room with a fine light, but as I said, it's much smaller. The concept of less is more is much easier to understand in theory than to carry out in practice. First of all, you have to clean up all the time, because a small studio gets messy faster than a large one, and clutter is a powerful enemy of creativity. My creative workflow hasn't changed. The process of how an idea moves from my head through my hand into the canvas and finally end up in a frame on somebody's wall is exactly the same. So to make it work in a small room, I needed some magic. That magic is zoning. By creating flexible, overlapping zones, the same square meters can serve multiple purposes, just not at the same time. I mapped out 5 distinct activities for this room: painting, storage, office, and music. And then there is a new addition: YouTube production. Let's start with the top priority: painting. Luckily, painting itself doesn't have to consume a lot of space. I need my easel, comfortable room to move around, easy access to my colors and tools, and a rolling work table for everything. For years I have enjoyed having all my colors spread out on a table, giving me a wonderful visual overview. But I have to sacrifice that luxury to the evil forces of limited space. Today my colors live on shelves in a bookcase. And do you know what? It's actually almost as good. I can still see everything at a glance, and it works perfectly alongside my rolling table. That rolling table is a cheap one from IKEA. In fact, it might be a bit too big for this small room. I will look into that as I go along, but I'm going to give it a chance. It is incredibly convenient that I can wheel it around exactly as I please. And it gives me some much needed extra storage on the shelves below. Which brings me to the real space killer: storage. In my old studio, storage took up a lot of space. To solve this, I moved all non-essential items like extra canvases and frames down to a small basement storage room. For the everyday materials I still need in my studio, I went vertical. I use an IKEA rack, small cabinets and label boxes, and wall shelves for my paints. Going vertical is a compromise, and it can be a bit hard to reach all the things in the middle, but it keeps the floor clean. My next zone is the music zone. Part of my creative process involves taking breaks and to play the piano, so I managed to squeeze in my digital piano here. To protect the floor from the occasional stray drips of paint, I covered the floor with rugs. As a bonus, these carpets improve the room's acoustics, making it much better for recording audio, as I'm doing right now. I also put up a small shelf for my favorite art books and my CD player, because as an old guy, I still love playing my physical CDs while I work. The office and YouTube zone consist of an adjustable standing desk. This is where I write scripts, make paperwork, sketch and edit my videos. The desk also doubles as a station for overhead camera shots. To keep the floor clean for filming, I mounted these brackets for my video lights directly into the wall, allowing me to switch from a painting studio to a recording studio on the fly. If you enjoyed the video so far, please give it a like. It really means a lot to me. Now let's talk about one of the most crucial elements of any studio: the lighting. To properly judge your composition, colors and mixes, you need the right lighting. The worst case scenario is that your painting looks beautiful in your studio, but completely different when it steps out into the real world. Years ago, LED technology wasn't good enough for artists' use, so I used metal halide lamps. They provided incredible brightness and a very good quality of light. And I was a happy user of these lamps for 20 years. But recently I tested them and realized that they were getting old. Today, LED technology has come a long way. It offers the same perfect color rendering and brightness without the heat and the massive energy bills. Plus, LED bulbs are small, affordable and easy to install, which is essential when you live in Denmark and it gets dark outside by 4 o'clock. Here are 3 simple rules I follow when choosing studio lighting. First one is CRI. Color Rendering Index. You need a light that allows you to accurately assess color. Think of the lights in our streets. They have a CRI below 50. They are fine for orientation, but you can't tell if a car is dark blue, black or green. Similarly, cheap LED work lights from the hardware store or public restroom lighting often have a low CRI, giving you the pale face of a ghost in the mirror. If you paint under these lights, you miss crucial reflections from a huge part of the color spectrum, especially the warm reds. Your mixes will look entirely different in daylight. So aim for a CRI of 95 or higher. Standard household bulbs are often around 80, which in my view is too low for painting. Second one is color temperature. It's measured in Kelvin. This measures whether a light feels warm or cold. While you want a cozy warm light in your living room, you want a neutral daylight simulator in the studio. I recommend 4000 K or higher. Because of reflections from walls, surface, the light actually hitting and landing on your canvas might not stay exactly 4000 K, but it's the perfect starting point. Number 3 is lux versus lumens, the amount of light. While too little light in the studio is useless, too much light will make your paintings look vibrant in the studio, but a little muddy or dark in a normal lit room. Lumens measure the total light coming out of the bulbs. You can see this measure on the box. But what matters to us is lux, the amount of light actually landing on the canvas. This depends on many things, but mainly on how many lumens leave the bulbs, distance, reflection and how many light fixtures you have. After 20 years I can usually eyeball whether the light is sufficient or not, but this time I wanted to know for sure. I discovered that you can use your smartphone as a light meter. I used the iPhone app called Lux Meter LM3000. Android users can look for an app called Photon. The app is free to download, though you have to pay around $1 for a couple of days of full access to the app, which is fine because you only needed to set things up and measure, adjust until you are satisfied. And then you don't need to use it again for a while. To use it accurately, you just tape a small piece of regular white printer paper, 80 grams, on the front of your camera lens, and then it will act as a diffuser. Place your phone flat against your canvas and voila, it measures both Kelvin and Lux. For a proper workspace, you want to aim for around 800 to 1200 Lux with an even spread across the canvas. Also remember to mount your lights high to avoid dazzling reflections when the paint is still wet. In this studio, I installed a 3-phase track system on the ceiling with 2 independent switches so I can control the light in stages. That way I can easily add a little filler light to supplement the daylight from the windows and save the full setup for when it gets dark outside. Time spent setting up good light is time well used. Last but not least, YouTube. For the last couple of years I have had the pleasure of making videos about painting. This has been demanding at times, but also very inspiring and rewarding. I would like to use this opportunity to thank all of you for making this possible for me. Thank you for all your views. Thank you for all your likes. And thank you for your many wise and kind comments. I highly enjoy reading them, so thank you to all of you. I will not get into the full details around my video production, just briefly cover my solution here in the studio. While the ceiling lights are excellent for the canvas, they are not ideal for video recording. To avoid stands on the floor, I mounted these 2 brackets on the wall. It makes it fast and easy for me to set up video lights. 1 big softbox and 1 smaller light for fill. The camera stand is mounted directly into my desk. I use it for overhead shots and for recording talking headshots like this. The table is height adjustable, so I can easily bring the camera to the right height. Occasionally, I still need to combine this setup with a traditional camera stand on the floor, especially when I film my painting process, and it works just fine. Here is my studio as it looks today. As I started out saying, building a studio is a never-ending process. By simply starting to paint, you can turn the almost impossible into something possible. And that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. I hope you enjoyed the journey into my new space. If you did, please share this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. How have you set up your own painting space? I will do my best to reply to all of you. So, bye for now. See you in the next one.